All right, this is James Pelton, and we have a double dose of AMAs today. So actually, earlier wasn't really an AMA. I played against Sheldon in Pirate Nodes, and I took home the victory. So if you didn't see that, I beat him live the first time I've ever played, and he's the game creator. So I mean, it is a game, a lot of luck. So I can't take too much, credit for that, but have another one here today. And again, Neil is in my opinion, one of the best people in the space. So we have talked a lot in the past. And so really excited to kind of hear what he has going on. What I need from you guys in the audience, I already see a lot of people hopping on, people I haven't seen in a while. So I think the timing of when I do AMAs, you have different people showing up. So it's great doing one here. It's afternoon here in Nebraska where I'm at, but it's good to see all of you. If you can hit the like button is the first thing. That's the most important thing. And also if you have if you could comment where you're watching from. Again, just always helpful for me to kind of see what's going on. The first comment, Neil and James are cousins. And I do not believe that is true. I've not done ancestry. There's a chance, but I do not think that is true. And we got Lady Boss Nat. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you for a while, so good to see you. Yeah, a lot of people hopping on. So thank you guys so much. And if you have questions as we go, please do ask. All right. Well, Neil and Bran, thank you for hopping on here today. Could you guys start out by introducing yourself? Maybe Neil first, then Bran, and then we'll get started talking about the project.
Yeah, so again, good to talk to you again here. Thank you for hosting us here today. So for those who do not know, my name is Neil. James and I have done some AMAs in the past there. I go by ShibLord up on the socials on Twitter as well as Discord. So I'm the founder and CEO of Protocol X. I have a kind of vast variety of experience between crypto and the real world business and also public service and all sorts of things there. And in DeFi as a community manager since back January before starting this own project here. And I'm joined with me by my own community manager, Brandon. So how are you doing?
Yeah, thank you for having us on today, James. Yeah, my name is Bran, or Brandon in the real world. I'm the community manager for PTX and all the future endeavors of PTX. And I obviously help in the background as well with general development stuff with the entirety of the team, while Neil takes the noble role of leading us. So yeah, super excited for today's AMA. Thank you for having us, James, and look forward to getting into it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to have you guys. Could you start, again, just assuming the people that are here have never heard of Protocol X, they have no idea what it is. Could you maybe give just a quick elevator pitch of what Protocol X is?
Yeah, sure. So we're a project over here on the Binance Smart Chain. So some of this information here on the website is about to get updated as we kind of move forward in the next couple of days. We're sort of moving off the color scheme, off the red there. But one of the biggest changes, so we started up as a rebase protocol here last month. And we're still going to keep those same sort of tokenomics, but we are going to turn into a staking protocol due to some different requirements for the CMCs and CoinGeckos of the world. But very, very generally speaking, we're a protocol which you purchase tokens and then you kind of stake it or you interact with it in order to gain a daily APR on the most basic and fundamental level. We have a variety of different sustainability factors built into the contract, but also via outside revenue sources and a variety of different mechanisms building up there. We have a custom LMS coming into play, pretty good strategic partnerships as well. A lot working on the BSC side. We are currently and actively going through a pretty significant upgrade to our contracts in general. So we're going to be introducing NFTs, which are totally revenue share based, 0% kind of Ponzi economic theory with those. Those kind of get the people excited. We're also going to introduce our own decentralized exchange with farming, staking. We call it enhanced PTX. That'll be that same staking mechanism, but also different vaults and partnerships will kind of take place on there. We'll also have a lottery within that system where it's kind of unique in the sense that it's a proxy lottery for which whenever it ends, it just builds up a new basically proxy contract lottery. And that's all being fed off of by the DEX itself, which I don't believe is currently out in the space. So we are doing a few different kind of new things to bring in that old school element of that rebase token, try to enhance it, bring it a little bit more direct to the people, easier to use and hopefully easier to thrive through a bear. And ultimately we'll break out of it one day and catapult up.
Awesome. No, that's a good elevator pitch. That was maybe like a first floor to the like 11th floor elevator pitch there with a couple stops on the way. But yeah, no, that was good. Can you talk about, here's the first question we'll bring in from the audience. Is this a fork of Safuu or a fork of something, or is it brand new code?
No, so the original basis of the contract is actually similar to a Titan. If you guys know what Titan was, a lot of the members of the team were actually quite big into Titan. We were very big fans of the project and how the contract worked. So the original contract, and we'll obviously get into this a little bit later on into the AMA, the original contract, the foundations were set off that. However, there were a lot of changes made. It was never just a direct fork. That's not something we really believe in. I believe there's so much more you could do to a contract rather than just copy and pasting it, right? But the new contract itself will actually be a completely new contract. So that won't be forked off of anything. The new contract will not have any similarities to pretty much any generic rebase token you see in the space at the minute, as it will be working in a completely different format. So the way that the new contract will work in a nutshell, and we'll go in a bit further later down the line, is the core of the contract will not be a rebase token. So the good thing about that is it allows us to implement that into anything that we want to in the future. So the original PTX, what we found was there was a lot of limitations in regards to listing on platforms, CoinGecko, CMC. And I think that has to do with the overall recent, negativity to do with rebase tokens. I'm not going to name any by name, but if you follow in the space, then you've seen the downfall of many, right? So what we did was we had to come up with a plan, right? Because one thing we don't want in our token, and I know CoinGecko and CMC, they aren't the be all and end all, right? But one thing that we've always prided ourselves on from the beginning is not having limitations. Now, if we can't list on certain platforms, then that's already a limitation. So the best way to get around that was we discussed with a team at the DAPT, DeFi Mark. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. And they built us a crazy custom contract. So the original PTX won't be a rebase token. The circulating supply will only increase inside of the staking. So ePTX will cause the original PTX to mint supply. And another cool feature is that we are going to be the lowest taxed rebase token in BSC. To my knowledge, there may be others that have lower taxes, but compared to the all large ones, we are definitely going to have the lowest taxes of all, a 4% buy tax and an 8% sell tax. And I'll quickly go through them just really quickly. The buy tax, usually with a contract, it will activate, SAL, or it will auto swap the liquidity, or provide it through routers, right, for both the buys and sells. However, the buy tax on our contract, so when someone purchases PTX, it won't sell. So, with generic contracts, right, for the buys and sells, it will pile it into a router and sell it. Now, with regards to our contract, the only time it will sell is on a sell anyway, which it will be the full sell tax. So on the buys, there'll be a burn fee and a treasury fee. And on the sells, that's when you'll have the corrected fees. Now, the white paper that we've got in front of you, as you can see on the screen, is outdated. We're going to hopefully be able to show you our latest, and I can drop that for you in the private chat right now for you.
Oh, actually, Neil might have sent it to me, and I just did not pull it up.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, so the new contract itself will be a 4% buy tax and an 8% sell tax. At a 1.77% daily APR, that's obviously a very reasonable tax rate, right? So it only takes a couple of days to make back your the taxes, and it's not a completely that's the new one. There we go. And it's not a completely absurd, crazy 18% or 13%. So this is the latest color scheme. If you can see on the original website, it was all in red. Now we've completely updated to royal colors. The reason being is we're currently working with the really good branding and development team for the new website. And they suggested in ourselves to not use red because of the negative connotations to it, which we totally agreed. So we did a nice community event to select the colors, and this was one of the winners. We were going to either go blue and green or, purple and off-white. And surprisingly, in my opinion, it works really well. It works really, really well. And I think the new theme gives off a nice glow. So you can see the fees there. The buy fees are all in PTX, so there will be no negative sell pressure on buys, and the sell fees are there. But we can go into that a bit more later on.
Yeah, no, very cool. Yeah, I think these colors do look a lot better. So this is kind of be the scheme on the website here before too long. Also, is that correct?
Yeah, so the website is currently under development. It is making severe headway. The website design, in a nutshell, is pretty much done. We're just waiting for implementation and final touches. What we don't want is to half release the V2 of this project. I would say a V2, but we're calling it an enhancement because the contract's going to be, and no, disrespect to the current contract creators, the new contract is going to be enhanced. So in essence, we're calling it an enhancement instead of a V2. I think V2 sometimes have negative connotations to them.
Like V1 failed. Yeah,
V1 failed, but that's not it at all. There was never really a failure or never really any problems, if I'm honest with you, because we could have continued without the CG and the CMC. But like I said, there's limitations, and we don't want any limitations, especially early on. If there's a problem that we can fix, we're going to fix it.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and just a few comments from the audience. First off, is Sheeb wearing Under Armour? Is one question.
Nope, not this time. But
okay, all right.
I actually wore this with him in mind. So
okay, all right. So wanted to get that out of the way. So a couple questions. So you're an auto rebase token, but not going to stay that way. Is that correct?
Yeah, so pretty much we currently are an auto rebase token. Once we push this upgrade, you're going to effectively stake your tokens on our DApp. We're calling it enhancing just for verbiage purposes, but you put it into this staking platform and then it's doing the same thing, basically rebasing from there, but it's just staked, so we can kind of get around the rebase name.
Okay, nope, totally get that. And actually, I was talking to, this is a side note, but I was talking to someone from CoinGecko, and I think there's like a technical reason they can't do the auto rebase tokens on those.
Sorry to cut in there. Apparently, it was to do with the original rebase tokens. I'm not sure if you know. Do you remember the tokens like goes up higher and stuff like that, where they take supply out of your wallet and then manipulate it? So I think not only the recent times, but because of the actual original rebase tokens, where it was the price always goes up, but we're going to steal money out of your wallet. So I think once they had, the first V1 of rebases and then the V2, where we'll do the opposite, but people are still losing money, I think. I mean, that's not confirmed that they're never going to list rebase tokens again. Don't get me wrong. But after all the connections that we've spoke to and, the multiple avenues that we've gone down, we've had the same answer every time, is that rebase tokens are going to be denied from now on. So no matter what we did, volume holders, it did not matter. They said be on Wendell, not getting listed. But I completely understand. There's been a lot of negatives in this space, a lot. Between, we're not going to name specific projects, but the absurd amount teams are paying themselves, the absurd promises that they're making without, achieving them. And I'm quite a bit advocate for getting things done, but not diluting the project, right? And I feel like a lot of tokens go, hey, we're going to release this, and this, and then silence for 2-3 months. And then during that 2-3 months, it's oh no, now we've got a bit of money left. What do we do to keep it the excitement? Now, I'm not to brag, and I'm not going to brag, but our entire ecosystem is currently under build. So everything that is on our roadmap, and you can see our updated roadmap on the V1, on the new white paper, every single avenue, apart from the sports betting application, is in build or has already been built. Now, with regards to our roadmap, James, we're not going to dilute everything. We saw that with some other projects, right? And I will name it because they're not around anymore. Titan, when they release things too quickly, right? The original Titan holders, they were going, hey, so you're releasing all these cool stuff and it's great, but what about us? Like, what about the Titan holders who are diamond handing, who are holding? It doesn't matter how many ideas you have. If you're going to dilute the token and dilute the original king of the hill, so to say, then you're eventually going to flood it, right? And there's going to be not enough for that token. Everyone's going to split their bags out. It's going to fizzle out. So we've got a strategic plan for releasing. I mean, a lot of people are hyped about the NFTs. We'll go into that a bit later. But my apologies, James. I do have, I'm quite passionate. So I do babble on. And I could tell sometimes I babble on a bit too much. So please continue.
Hey, you know what? The more you talk, the less I need to talk. And they hear from me all the time. So sometimes I think they're tired of me. So it's good to have somebody else take over. Can you talk a little bit about I'm looking for what makes you unique. Do you want to talk a little bit about the LMS and what that is exactly and how you're planning on using it?
Yeah, so in LMS, we've seen the most successful one out there in recent days be Horde, right? That's their primary fundamental aspect of their protocol. They've had it built up for a long time, a lot of good training mechanisms within it to fully sustain it. But it's just a liquidity management system, service, whatever you want to call it there. Generally speaking, on the most basic level, it takes a certain price range that's defined by the contract, and then at a defined price above that range, it'll start selling tokens in order to increase a pool. Now, that pool is vitally important because when it goes down below that range, it uses that same pool to conduct buybacks and try to get it back within that range there. So if a project does try to launch with that being the sole mechanic behind it, really besides Horde and Spring's got it going on pretty well too. A lot of people try it and like this is what I do, and then it breaks peg and then it fails, right? So what we're utilizing here, we have Solar Protocol custom building our own LMS, but it's just going to be an element for us to utilize within the greater scheme. I'm not going to run it off a platform here. Kind of the way I describe it is if you had a house and you had a bunch of pillars under the house to try to hold it up. If one of those pillars cracks and breaks, well, you can go back down there, you can replace it, you can find out what's wrong with it, etc. While the rest of them help it out as well. That's how we're using the LMS and our other sustainability variables. This is just an element for us to increase and improve the totality of the protocol in and of itself. So that is not yet live, but we hope to get that live when we launch our next contract as well. And then set it with a pretty reasonable range. Ideally, over time, I want to grow like a rising floor theory where I'm utilizing revenue from trade bond mechanics and some other things like that to bolster the LMS pool so that I can continue to increase that bottom range over time, which that is unheard of right now, especially within inflationary tokens. So that's obviously a hard task to accomplish, but I'm kind of a numbers guy, so I've been playing that game here, and I think we can at least get on that track here sooner rather than later. So that's the whole idea of the LMS or Protocol X, and I kind of look forward to seeing how it plays out here.
Yeah, no, we've seen these liquidity managers just be really successful in just making it sustainable for longer and giving you a longer runway to be able to hit those revenue streams in place. Before I'd like to talk about the revenue streams, but some people are asking about the chart. Do you just want to just kind of give your thoughts on the chart and you just want to talk through a little bit how things have been going since launch?
Yes, I will, and I'll be completely honest. I think transparency is really, really important in this space. The price action isn't doing great right now. One thing that I will talk about is our stance on lowering tax. I think with us not being able to get on CoinGecko and CMC off the bat with the high tax and the rebates, that obviously killed momentum. Let's be completely honest here, right? People wait for CMC, and once you tell them that we're not going to be on CMC, they're going, well, this project's dead. Let's be completely honest, right? Now, we're not too fussed about the volume, albeit I know the price is down, and that is a negative connotation for holders, but we are still building. We are still growing. We have everything in development we're really happy about. Now, one thing we noticed was as soon as we lowered the buy tax, because at the minute you can purchase PTX with 4% buy tax, which will be originally planned, right? Our original taxes were 13, 18, which were high, James. Let's be completely honest here, yeah? So that's already in a nutshell. If you're a new investor, especially if this is your first project, you're not going to pay that high tax. But what we had to do was go, hey, is this sustainable? There must be a reason why rebase projects have such high taxes, right? There must be a reason they need these high taxes to be sustainable. But what we learned is, of course, there is a need to be sustainable with the high taxes. But the main reason why projects have high taxes is because they don't have to rely on anything else, right? If you've got 6% of every single transaction going to treasury, then there's no pressure for you to really build anything. All you need to do is say some stories, generate some hype, get some buyers or get even some sells, right? And you're going to still make 6% no matter what way that chart trades. We've lowered that now. So the treasury will only be getting 1 to 2% maximum. We do have our external revenue sources. I believe we've got $155,000 inside 6 or so revenue sources at the minute, i.e. trading bots. I know Neil switched that about a little bit yesterday, so I think we're in less at the minute. But there is a lot to come, and there's a lot to, go from here, and not a lot to do, sorry. I mean, the original price action that we've got is bad. Like, as an investor myself, I wouldn't look at that chart and buy it, right? But that's where we took a step back as a team and said, right, boys, this clearly isn't working at the minute, right? There's no new people coming in. Some are saying the taxes are too high. What can we do to actually go, if we are going to rebuild and relaunch and, you know, restructure, what differences can we make that will benefit the holders? One, lowering the taxes, introduction of vaults and staking for people to lock for long term at different APRs is something we're going to introduce with the new DApp. Introduction of the LMS system, which will hopefully come soon, whether it be at launch or shortly after launch. And obviously the main one I think there is taxes. A lot of price discovery bots, especially in you know, Telegram channels or Signal channels, which I know aren't very great, but if they've got high taxes, the people that do get the pings about them and the free marketing that you get on CoinGecko and CMC listings, people veer away from them, because if they see this has a high alert, a high chance of being a rug pull, it's got this X amount of tax and 18 to sell, people will just, you know, genuinely stay veer and wait for the next one. They won't look into the project, right? So us being able to lower it and go, hey, we are a rebase token at heart. Out on the outside, we're not a rebase token, but we will still work as a rebase token. Now we've got, sorry, someone said something in chat and it made me laugh. He's got the box in the background. He looks like he's ready to pack and pull the rug. Actually, complete opposite. I've just moved in, so I'm trying to unpack and put the rug down, actually. But no, there's a lot to come, and I think lowering taxes will have a massive impact on volume and new holders coming in, because you're much more likely to quote unquote take a risk with a token if the taxes are at 4%, so to say, rather than if the taxes are at 13-18%, and you're already at a loss without, you know, investing. But that's the whole reason for the rebranding, right? So we can go in a new step, the new direction, and start from scratch with the same goal in mind, and grow from there. So that's great.
Okay, no, good answer. Totally understandable. I think getting off of the auto compounding too will help. There's just so much when we're in this type of market and there's not a lot of new volume coming in. Those just put out too much volume, and it's just too hard to keep up with it, in my opinion. We've seen that in other projects, so I'm glad to hear that you're moving away from that. Do you want to talk through the revenue streams? You mentioned a trading bot. Do you want to talk through trading revenue streams now and then potential in the future also?
Yeah, so this is kind of my whole thing that I've been going into here, and kind of what we ran off of. So that was the one of the biggest things that we use to differentiate ourselves from others. Is literally before we even went live in general, we invested in. I think we put about 200,000 into different trading bot mechanics before we even brought the protocol live. Now, since then, we took 50,000 out and put that into the liquidity pool to try to, you know, get that a little bit stronger over time, which was necessary, of course, because you just saw the chart, right? So we're trying to maintain that stability for those who did believe in the vision here as we try to navigate through them. But more so, I've identified and really kind of pursued trading bot revenue as one of the more real things of crypto right now. And the markets can go up, the markets can go down. I've been relatively successful with them through this last pretty significant bear market. And really the only time they tend to do poorly is a quick up or down trend. And that's really, we actually hit that during the FOMC meeting and then one more this morning where they kind of hit, you know, a quick spark down. So usually it's better just to go in there and turn them off and don't let them trade during these emotional trading days. But those allow us to bring in quite a good amount of outside revenue that has nothing to do with new investors. So our one Bitcoin bot, I think, has had 25,000 or so that it's made since we went live. A little less than a year. Hey, bringing in 25,000 that we didn't have before is pretty good. And this is what's allowing us to focus our money towards these builds to get our roadmap live. We also have another Ethereum one. We have two different Ethereum bots. And then we partnered with Ego, who you've talked about a few times. We're using their trade bot as well. And then prior to yesterday, I also had one on Solana and one on Avalanche. And they tend to really not necessarily underperform, but they're going against the trend of the other ones. And the other ones are doing better. So I removed those from the equation for now. I'm going to assess those a little bit further because I don't want them to hit a conflict of interest for the different ones that we're already working with. I've also been in discussions with Freeway, talking about some longer term kind of investments there. They showed me all their records, a little bit safer, and that allows us to really, you know, take this short term, try to get a good amount of money coming in from the trade bots, and then start spreading that around to a less risky different investment over time. especially once we get these things built and paid for. Once we have our entire roadmap built and paid for, then like Brand said, we can release it over time. We're not struggling and dying for new money coming in from anything at that point. We're just utilizing it to better our product constantly from there. There isn't, we're not sweating at that point. We have them ready to go. And it really allows us to navigate these times. Now, primarily, I was going to use the Ego trading bot for buybacks and burns. I put 100,000 in, but unfortunately, last month was the first time they took an L, lost 6%. It is what it is with that game. It's real money, though. That's what I like about it. I don't get discouraged by ups or downs. That allows us to at least bring in an element where if that does 20%, we have 20,000 ready to go for buybacks and burns that even the bigger projects out there with our same philosophy don't already have at hand. So we're only, 400 some odd holders, pretty low market cap, pretty low everything here. And we're going to be bringing in money from a variety of different mechanics that don't necessarily involve a consumer volume, which really piques my interest. And we'll go even further in a little bit on how I incorporated that in the NFTs, which really gets me excited. So I'll tone down on that before I get lost on that one.
Okay, all right. Before we go down that rabbit hole, actually, let's go ahead and go to it. So what's on the roadmap? What are you really excited about that's coming up here?
Yeah, so I'll go into the NFTs and I'll let Brian kind of touch on some of the other stuff with the roadmap there. So these NFTs that we're devising, if you guys have not seen them yet, we put them, I believe the photos are on our Medium and not on our white paper at this point, but we're releasing a variety of different NFTs that are genuine passive income NFTs. And what do I mean by that is I don't need people to be upgrading their NFTs in order to pay rewards, for example. I don't need anything like that coming in. Once they're minted, the tokenomics will be laid out as such. So I'm going to utilize a buy and sale, it'll just be a sales tax associated with the PTX token to start bolstering a revenue pool that distributes to the NFT holders. And additionally, 100% of the minted revenue from the NFTs, 5,000 total, can be minted at 1 BNB each. Once we release them, they're not out just yet. 100% of that goes immediately into these trade bomb mechanics and then distributed in 50% going directly back, 50% of the profits going directly back to the NFT revenue share pool every month, 30% compounded back into that trading bomb mechanic. So it ideally can make more money over time, 10% to the LMS pool and 10% to the treasury. And if my math is right, that should be 100% there. But that allows these NFTs to really be able to bring money in from literally nothing to do with other investors. You don't have to go in and interact with them. You will have to go in and claim your rewards. It'll actually be paid out in a BUSD backed coin that we've had devised as well, an algorithmic backed coin, and that'll be PUSD. We'll kind of go into that at some point as well. But that allows people to get real money from these NFTs over time. I'm not going to be promising 2% a day or whatever, not even 0.5% a day. But if the bots do 100% a month, which they have, then you get quite a good return. If they do minus 10, I mean, it is what it is. You're still going to have them, and then they're still going to be working on as long as they're in your wallet. So here are the photos of them there. Pretty cool, different designs to all of them up there. I actually really like what we've done on that. The NFTs to me, I think are going to be pretty cool. So sorry, go ahead.
No, did you hand draw those, Neil, yourself?
Yeah, I'm an artiste. If anyone doesn't know, my artwork is like, stick figure cat. That's about where I'm at. So these are not me.
If anyone who doesn't know, Neil didn't actually draw these. These are all AI generated. So every single NFT here is AI generated by using a different, varying key phrases to build what you want, right? So none of these are drawn. They're not created by any designer, and obviously can't be replicated again unless you completely draw and copy them, right? These NFTs all have a lot of different features to them. So in essence, the way it will work, and I'll explain the ecosystem, right, of why it makes sense. Because I can see James' face a little bit. He goes, okay, so you've got a rebase token that's not a rebase token, and now you've got NFTs that aren't to do with, but I'll explain it. I'll explain it and why these benefit PTX holders, right? So in a nutshell, they are NFTs, right? But what they are also at is technically a way for you to earn revenue from the company, right? So the company being Protocol X. Now, what makes this unique and what makes us very unique, if you actually look at the tokenomics on the white paper, you'll see on the sell tax, there's actually 4% that goes directly to NFT holders. Now, 4% goes to NFT holders. How does that help PTX holders? So with regards to the base NFT, so it'll work in a structural release. So these NFTs won't release all at once. It won't go, hey, here's all the NFTs, you can upgrade them. So it will start out by just having the common NFTs. So people will be able to mint these NFTs for 1 BNB each. Once they're minted, they are distributed, as Neil said, to one pot, and then one to auto compounding, and then one back to the holders, right? Now, once them NFTs are minted out or get to a certain stage where we go, hey, okay, they've got to a point where we can now upgrade and release. Now, how do you upgrade these NFTs? You don't use money. So the way you'll use these and upgrade these NFTs is by using Xkeys. Now, Xkeys is a token, sort of a coin chip example for a casino, in a nutshell. And the way that you get Xkeys is by burning EPTX. Now, the reason why we call EPTX, and EPTX is the token which offers the rebasing, the daily auto compounding once you're staking it. So having the EPTX, the supply doesn't always mint 24/7. So instead of a generic rebase token minting at 1.77% a day, and the entire, supply rising, the only time the supply will rise is when it's generically minted through EPTX being staked. Now, another cool use for EPTX is you actually have to burn your PTX to purchase an X key. When you purchase an X key, you then use that X key to either enter into the lottery system to earn prizes, or use that X key to upgrade your NFTs. Once you upgrade the NFTs, the tier you've upgraded from is burnt forever. Now, the reason why that mechanic's good, right, and the reason why that gets people thinking whether they want to upgrade or not is because once, all the whales who have a bunch of PTX decide, hey, I'm going to upgrade the 20 NFTs I've got, right, for example, stake, and they use whatever X amount of PTX that costs, the little fishes that can only afford to hold that common or uncommon NFT, they're gonna make more money every time a whale upgrades. So it doesn't work on a Ponzinomic factor. It works on if you have the money and you are a big holder in PTX and you want to earn more of a market share, you can upgrade and you can get up there. However, it's not complicated, as someone just said. And the people who just hold a common, the more that get burnt, right, the more that their percent rises also. So in a nutshell, these NFTs are not just going to be NFTs. If you look on our roadmap, we are looking into diversifying into gamification. There's a reason why the E token is called enhanced, and there's a reason why they're called Xkeys, and there's a reason why they're called passageways instead of just being a generic card that floats around on the screen. These all will in the future, and obviously nothing's confirmed now, be entered into some sort of gamification. We're also looking at using our own sports betting platform and developing that later down the line. So these Xkeys, right, can be used for that platform to get tokens on the system or to get tokens on the game, or however you want to do it. You'll have to use EPTX to burn and so forth. So there's a lot of possibilities with regards to the ecosystem, and that's one reason why it all benefits PTX, right? Because to upgrade the entire ecosystem or to get involved, you have to burn. So essentially, if someone bought $10,000 of PTX purely to upgrade the X shares, which is going to have to happen if you want to upgrade your X shares, then not only do you not have that whale anymore, you get the $10,000 completely bought and burned. So that's a non-negative transaction, right? That transaction can never sell. And if you do I know it's a very complicated ecosystem, and we do have infographics being made, complete easy ones being laid out that show you what everything does. I know Neil's working on a Prezi. We're going through a whole rebranding at the minute. So one main reason for the different colors, also people don't get confused by old information as well, because it's very easy to do. So I definitely suggest reading over the white paper. The new white paper is going to be dropped, I believe, tonight. Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're debuting it today.
Now it will.
Yeah, we're debuting it today on James Pelton's AMA, but I will release a white paper. We also have a Git book as well. Now, that Git book explains these in a little bit more detail because I've hand wrote it myself. So you can see I can speak a lot, so I could probably type a lot, right? I'm going to be adding an FAQ into that Git book as well, so you'll be able to find a lot of answers if you're confused. We do a lot of AMAs, and we are active 24/7 in our Discord and Telegram community. So we're always there to answer any questions. I think that was one of our problems with the limitations of growth as well, James, if I'm completely honest with you. I think people are very used to buy token, make money. And then they go, hey, so when use case? But then if you're there, okay, buy token, here's all use case, and then maybe make money. People are like, hold on a minute. This crypto thing's a little bit more difficult than I thought, right? So people just want to buy token, make money. But unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? You've got to build and you've got to grow. You can't just buy token and make money unless you've got this crazy hype. But we've all seen it doesn't matter how much hype a token has, it doesn't mean they can deliver, right? And this goes back to ego and all these smaller projects, some which we've partnered with. Just because they're not this crazy massive token with all this hype doesn't mean they haven't got good ideas, and doesn't mean they can't fulfill their roadmap. We've already built, and it's the last thing that I'll ramble on, we've already built more contracts and developed more things than I think some tokens did when they raised multi-millions of dollars in pre-sale. We raised $521,000. A lot of that went into investments. And even with a lackluster amount of volume, realistically, we were still able to use our brains, use the external revenue sources, cut our salaries completely. The entire team has cut any salaries between 20 and 50% just so we can continue the longevity of this project and actually build, as Neil said, build out all these products, build out the ecosystem. And at the end of the year, we could be one of them dead projects, but we won't be just one of them dead projects without having our entire ecosystem built. If we build everything we say we're going to build and anything we decide we want to build in the future and then die, I mean, so be it. Sometimes you can't help that, but we're not just going to go down without a fight. And that's why we didn't just crawl in a ball when CMC said, we're not going to list you. And we decided, hey, let's cut pay, let's work hard, let's get more builds built. And then we can basically turn around and say, hey, shove it. Here we are. We are now listed with a better contract and more beneficial for holders.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I like that you have these plans laid out. I feel like what I saw in a lot of projects was they didn't have much planned, and then they got all this money and they're like, well, we don't really know what's next. And they scramble to try and figure out, okay, let's try this.
Every single AMA, I have said that, and everyone can confirm. They don't have a plan. They go, okay, wow, we just got $10 million in volume. Now we've got $4 million in treasury. We need to do something. And fast, because people are going to get bored. But we haven't had that huge volume spike. We haven't had that crazy all-time high. And we still have the same plan. No matter what problems we've had to fix, change, or grow into, the plan has only evolved. And if any project just follows their roadmap, then I'm sorry, that project's not going to do very well. We change our roadmap daily, not completely as in update the apps and stuff, but add to our brainstorm roadmap daily and things we want to do and things we want to get into and grow that can be beneficial to the token. And it's all just a process, man. Everything's a process, and it's about being patient. But that's why we're building everything as early as we can, so we can schedule release it, not have too many empty gaps, and still be able to give things and excite the holders while we build on them long-term goals.
Okay, very cool. And so I'm an engineer. Okay, so my audience knows this. Some of them are commenting, but I'm like a one thing at a time. And this drives my wife crazy, but I can only think of one thing at a time. So maybe could we walk through? I have the white paper up here, and can we go through the tokens and which ones are available, which ones are coming in the future, and maybe just kind of go through them one by one, just so people have kind of a clear idea of the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So definitely, I know a lot of people are commenting. It's a lot of complications, a lot of different elements, which is okay. Like Brad mentioned, I'm putting together a presentation to break down the totality and then kind of siphon it down to piece by piece. So we're working at here. PTX is a token that's currently available. The buy tax is already reduced down to 4%, even though we haven't released the new contract of it. And don't fret, there isn't like a manual migration or anything. Once we release a new contract, we just immediately airdrop everyone that new token, and it's good to go from there. So that's that PTX token. That's that base, fundamental, foundational token of the entirety of Protocol X. That's kind of what we're trying to utilize to have everything feed back into and feed into everything over time. ePTX, if it's better for people's brains, think of it like staked PTX, like SPTX would be, but in our terminology, it's enhanced PTX. So enhanced PTX is once you enhance it, It's a simple, very, very simple one button staking mechanism there. You will then start getting that daily APR. You'll also be able to interact with a variety of different things on the platform, including the Xkeys. So that's why we call it enhanced. It allows you to really engage with the entirety of the platform itself. Next step there, the SEM is something that we've kind of just created. It's a sustainability as a mission model, which we haven't gone into yet. So every month we'll reduce the APR by 10% each month up until 12 months. And then it'll be a 0.5% daily APR for EPTX. That allows us to kind of take those different fluctuations of volume and also account for the decrease of new investors over time with inflationary components. And it really allows us to bring a little different element to the game. Again, I think that's the first one to do it is us. So shout out to that. Hopefully it works pretty well. It's a pretty cool idea in my opinion. And then I threw in a nice little Bitcoin halving chart to get the people excited. Now, PUSD is something that a lot of people are going to have a little bit of trouble wrapping their minds around because I'm a mathematic kind of person. My educational background's in economics. I really love it. It even took me a couple reads through to understand. So I try to break this down as simply as possible. So PUSD is an algorithmic BUSD backed token. All that means is that anytime that there's a buy associated with a token, the contract only mints enough, less sales tax to continuously back that token from the LP side. That's very, very important because it creates a price appreciation effect via the tokenomics built into the contract itself. And same thing with the sales. When somebody sells it, it'll immediately and automatically burn the excess sold, and then that tax associated with it is what causes the price to go up over time. Now, it's designed to constantly go up with any buy, sale, or transfer. Obviously, the world can get hit by meteorites and everything can go downhill. So I can't guarantee that, but that's how the contract and math works out for that. I did put in examples on there and then just pretend like there's a D in that PUSD. I updated that already on the newest one. So oops, but it's all good. So I put in a little example with this as well to try to break it down. We are going to release this white paper tonight for those who do want to read through it. We'll release it in our Discord at the very least. So
he added the D.
Yeah,
so
I fixed it for you. Don't worry.
It was one of the first things I commented to our graphics guy. I'm like, that's supposed to be PUSD.
Yeah, you need me as a graphics guy. I mean, I can take care of that for you.
Again, my artiste work is right there with you, and we are great at that. So shout out to us.
Yes. So just so people understand this, this PUSD, because MDB is doing kind of the same thing with MDB Plus, but it's a stable coin, so it's backed by BUSD 100%, which means it's impossible. But we'll not say impossible. But
we won't say impossible.
Okay, we won't say impossible, but there's BUSD to back it up, so it should never go under $1. Okay, but since there's that buy, sell, and transfer tax, it can go up. It just can't go below $1 because there's BUSD there to back it up 100%. So
yeah, so the way that works, and someone just said it in chat, no, it's not a copy of MDB Plus, and that's no hate on the MDB Plus guy. If you've been in this space a long time, the actual creator of this token, the original basis was, if you ever heard of XSurge, and Surge BNB, obviously that's why we never say only goes up. That was actually the start of these arithmetic, stable kinds of don't say that because of the Surge hack. But yeah, the origination of this was actually from Surge, and we're actually working with Mark to create PUSD. And if you don't know, Mark is the originator of XSurge, who created the original XUSD contract. So Mark himself is actually building this for us. It's already created. This is not released yet. So this is something that will be released alongside sort of XSwap or the D app. But this is just something to say, hey, we've already got this built. It was nothing crazy, if I'm completely honest with you. It's a good addition to the ecosystem. And that's something we want to focus on, right? Is that we don't want to just... one thing I don't like is when people go, oh, we've got an LMS, and make that the main focus of the project. It's like, come on, like you can implement an LMS, you can use someone else's LMS, but that is not a main selling point of a project. You need to be different, unique. Everyone can add an LMS to their project. We're adding an LMS. We can add a, backed arithmetical, whatever, stable coin. But the whole point is building the ecosystem out, right? And actually helping PTX. So PUSD over time will help PTX, whether we can get rewards for it or people can just hold it in stables as such. But more information on PUSD will come on release, and we're looking to release that in a couple of weeks, once we have everything lined out after XShares is launched. So at this current time, And the only token available to buy is PTX. Now, as Neil said, that is PTX quote unquote V1. The current taxes on PTX is 4% buy and 18% sell, purely because we've only recently just lowered the buy tax. So our current holders, it was a big request in our Discord that people could buy for the 4%. So we said we'd drop it and then implement 4A on the new migration.
Okay, and then just to clarify too, there is an LMS on the PTX token,
at the
but
time,
not the PUSD token. Well, there's going to be
yeah.
on the on PTX.
Yes. So
Okay.
at this time, no, there's no LMS currently active on the PTX. We're hoping that will be implemented on the relaunch when PTX and ePTX launch. So the next phase, for anyone confused, is once we've finalized the website and all documents, as you can see, the documents are pretty much done. We're just waiting for the website, because what we don't want to do is release with a lack of information. As you can see, that it is quite a confusing, and we're in an AMA now, right? And people are a bit confused. If we can relaunch. All the contracts are ready. We're actually going to get them audited as well. But if we do just launch it and then people go, okay, the website says something completely different. So we're waiting for the new website to be built, at least to an extent where people can understand everything, and then implement everything over time. And then we'll give a solid date of where we've airdropped, turned off trading, and then moved the liquidity over to the new token. Mark, who's currently building our ecosystem, he has, a very smooth transitioning contract that people don't pretty much have to do anything. It just pretty much takes the liquidity out of the current contract, moves it to the other one, and airdrops everyone. So it's completely, easy to be done. And all people have to do is add the new wallet, add the new token to their wallet address, which will be on the new website, which will, and I will say it here just so it's on record, it will be on a completely new domain. After speaking to obviously new web development teams and branding, we realized that the current domain isn't good for SEO. So to improve our SEO as such, and to improve the overall look of the token, because when you Google Protocol X, it would come up with X protocol or any other things, so we wouldn't be able to be found. So it will be a new website, but only check, obviously, the official links for that new link, but it will all be clarified soon.
Okay, and so yeah, I think there was a little bit of confusion. So PTX is going to have the LMS. This does not need an LMS because there's going to be BUSD under it. So it's not using an LMS to keep the price stable. It's using actual BUSD sitting there. So it's not the same thing at all. This doesn't need any new people to come in to keep the dollar floor, because it's only minted when there's BUSD there to back it up, if that makes sense. I was going to ask, in this 2%, does any of that go towards PTX or towards the liquidity manager? Is that all going to be part of the PUSD ecosystem?
So right now it's designed to all feed right back into the PUSD ecosystem entirely, 100% of the buy, sale, and transfer tax. And the reason I did that is I want to give, I pretty much ran this platform on DeFi passive income in a variety of ways. So we are going to be paying with the NFT revenue with PUSD. So this is a way for someone to say, if I want to be able to earn more money over time on a very casual level, then they can hold it for another week, for example, or a day. And ideally, it'll get more appreciation over time with how it's designed there. So that's the general mechanics of it with that PUSD token.
Of course, as Neil said, is that we're able to use them revenue sources from XShares. So that's how the whole ecosystem ties in together, right? We can take the profit that the trading box make out of XShare, purchase the PUSD with it, and then share that around. So then
we're not on to XShare yet, though.
Sorry.
We're doing the engineer version right now.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Right. So we got PTX available now. ePTX is going to be the staked PTX. PUSD is kind of its own thing that is a stable coin that you can get a yield off of. So now we're on to XShare. All right. So let's talk about XShare now. Sorry to interrupt you, Brand.
No, that's fine. So I will say it in a very simple term so people can reference this. So the base level of an XShare will be a passive income stream. This will have passive income from trading bots, from external revenue sources, sell tax in PTX. So 4% directly gets split between all of them. So the common XShare, so the base level of XShare, will be purchased with BNB. It will cost 1 BNB to purchase, right? Now, to upgrade the ecosystem, so to get a common to an uncommon and uncommon to a rare, the only way to do that is by using your EPTX to purchase. I know I have to mention an Xkey, we're not there yet, but to purchase an Xkey to upgrade an XShare. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, you will see there's a legendary tier. Now, this legendary tier is not purchasable. The only way people have been getting these at the minute is by partaking in the pre-sale, or that they've been an outstanding member of the community. So this is our way of saying thank you, essentially, by providing the highest level of this. So with the best percents coming in, the best revenue and the best features, right? So when we move that to gamification, you can't buy this one. We're not going to be greedy and say we're going to auction this off, highest bidder. These are free in a nutshell. So the way one of our previous community members earned this was by, helping out, making graphics, helping the community, and just being like a really good member of the community. So they, two of them won themselves a free legendary XShare, and these will be a tier above the rest. So all the whales will still have to use their PTX to get to a rare tier. But the way we're giving back to the community, and it's sort of like, how to explain it to you in a simple way, James, sort of a round table, because these do have government voting rights, but not a DAO right. So the way that we'll be doing this is by hosting one-on-one meetings with these people, having group meetings with these members, being able to really connect with the community. We're not going to put things down to a DAO. I think if you're out to be a DAO, then that's the direction of your project. I think a project needs good leadership, and you shouldn't rely on random people in the community that's my opinion on DAOs. But for this project, it will be a CEO and a team-led management, but you will have that say. There will be specific things we'll be speaking to you about and getting you involved. Even now, even down to the color of the DApps, we were in our community doing votes on them. As I said, we had the blues, the purples, and it's just a cool way to get the everyone involved on making a decision on what's best for the protocol. Now, these guys, they will only be able to get these for free, as I said, and you will be able to have direct contact with the team, highest rewards over time as well. But you can't buy these, so the only ones you could buy is up to rare, and you'd have to purchase that with your EPTX.
Okay.
Sorry, that's as short as I could do it.
No, that's good. That's good. So this is not a token. It's the XShare is not a token. It's NFTs.
Yes.
That are gonna, and this info is really good. I think this white paper will be really helpful for people, or purple paper we call it. So let's continue on. Okay, so Xkeys, which you kind of mentioned. Can you talk through those?
Yeah, I'll go into a little bit of these here. So Xkeys, like Brad mentioned earlier, are our way to incentivize getting PTX, or in this case EPTX, removed from circulation without us actually having to do additional buybacks and burns. This is a way to incentivize the community to basically help us on that vision, while also benefiting them, of course, right? So you can basically just go purchase these Xkeys when we deliver them out. You have to exchange EPTX for them, and then that'll give you access to primarily upgrades of the NFTs and also to the lottery. So our X lottery is going to be very, very unique once we lay it out there. I don't recall if I put the tokenomics in this or not, but I do have them on my Prezi. But basically, it's going to be taking some of the percentages from the XSwap exchange, feeding that into the proxy lottery. It's going to run once a week, automatic start, stop, and then just continue on like that. So there's no real work on us to keep it going. It's literally fed by the protocol itself. And those who want to engage in the lottery, you're helping us out by burning and removing those tokens out of circulation. And then, of course, upgrades of NFTs, because we're not going to release the upgraded tiers until that first tier fully mints out. It is going to create at some point a pretty substantial removal of circulation of PTX, or EPTX in this case, because eventually those 5,000 will mint out. Boom, the rares come into place. It's almost like a battle to try to get those. Ideally, a bunch of EPTX removed. And the benefit of that is now that cannot be sold. It gives the user a benefit, because now they're going to get revenue from the NFTs. It gives us a little bit of a, taking the sweat off our heads that maybe some of these whales are getting rid of their EPTX for us. But it's still like a win-win to everyone there. So the Xkeys are kind of our relatively unique thing, and I do hope that it's not too overcomplicated, but it allows us to really piece together and intertwine the variety of the aspects of the protocol into one.
Wox, I know you're watching this stream. Wox is our graphics designer. Write the notes down. We need infographics ASAP, my friend. So people aren't confused. Get the infographics made. Get everyone on board. But we will. There's some whiteboard designs around, and it's very easy where it shows the arrows and stuff. There will be that sort of stuff made. I know there's a lot, and I know it's annoyingly a lot for some people because you've got to learn. Usually, you get into a token in the early days, and there's not much going on. But unfortunately, there is a lot going on. I mean, unfortunately, but for newbies, unfortunately, you've got a lot to read and a lot to learn. But we will make that, and that's one of our biggest things we're doing right now with this rebrand is making things very easy with videos, with infographics. So they will come just obviously in a couple of days or so.
Yeah. And again, I always tell people too, you don't have to get all the way into a project. Like you could just get the PTX token, and then you'll probably want to stake it. So you'll want to get the EPTX token, but you don't have to, don't worry about PUSD. You don't have to get into that. You don't have to get into the XShare. You can kind of go in as shallow or as deep as you feel up to. So again, if it doesn't make a lot of sense to you, just get the PTX token and just, let that, and then maybe later you can dig in more. But I actually don't think it's that complicated. This white paper lays it out really well. So I think once this white paper is available and some infographics, like you said, I think it'll be peachy keen. So cool. Well, hey, I want to bring up some. Well, is there anything else from the white paper that you want to talk through before? I'd like to bring up some community questions before we run out of time here. I know you're planning on doing a DEX at some point. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. I'm liking this PDF and my ability to draw on it too. I'm really having fun with that.
Yeah, so I'll go pretty quickly here. Basically, the XSwap DEX, we're going to be able to do farm, staking, and then I want a locking mechanic in there that'll kind of serve almost like a bond mechanism. It really allows us to just dive into a little bit of different aspects of the protocol. The tokenomics are listed there, and they're kind of strategically designed to help out the project as a whole. So there's going to be some different unique aspects of that. When we do release our new website and our DApp, it's going to be very easy to navigate through. There'll be a lot of different things coming from there. So that's most of, I believe, the components of our ecosystem we've already gone over. I don't want to dive too deep into those kind of mechanics because that XSwap is going to be a little bit before it comes out. So all good there, and that allows us to grow that in a little bit of time.
Cool. Well, hey, it makes sense to me. So if people still have questions, first off, you can rewatch the video. Give me another view. That'd be great. Second off, you can hop in their Discord, hop in their Telegram, wait for this new white paper to be released tonight, according to the deadline that was given to Neil today. So you can wait for that too. A few questions that I want to bring up from the audience. First off, is there a minimum investment price, or can you get in for whatever?
Yeah, so there's no minimum investment. You can get up onto Bog Finance if you prefer that, or PancakeSwap. You can buy that PTX token right now. Bear in mind, there is a 4% buy tax, so adjust your slippage accordingly. If you're on Bog, it'll do it for you. But there is no minimum investment. You can get in with $1 or whatever your allocation might be there.
Okay, and I just want to show real quick. If you do want to buy, they have this nice thing here, this nice button here that'll take you to PancakeSwap with the PTX contract address already in there. You need to make sure you're on the BSC network, which I was not. I was on Avalanche. Then you just say, yes, I know PTX isn't normally on PancakeSwap, but I want to import it. And then you can buy it here. Sometimes it takes PancakeSwap a little bit to and if it doesn't end up putting it in, you can just copy and paste the contract address from up here. Sometimes it just takes PancakeSwap a minute to do it. Let me see here. This is what I should not do things live. I mess everything up when I do it live. Maybe just try refreshing too, because sometimes it just takes PancakeSwap a minute for it to pop up. Because if it's in the output currency here, it should show up. But then you'll need to raise your slippage if you're doing it on PancakeSwap to like 5-ish. It needs to be above 4, right? That's the buy tax.
Yeah, so the buy tax is 4. So generally, just add a little bit of slippage, 5 or 6% tolerance, and it'll get you where you need to go. If you use Bog Finance, which we have the link on our Discord, it'll auto calculate your slippage for you.
Okay. Yeah. And Bogged is actually quite a bit better. So I do recommend trying that. But yeah, so that's how you buy, and there is no minimum. And then Vars wants to know, what do you feel that only your project brings to the space? Good question. You're muted, Brain.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great answer.
I just dropped the white paper, so if you haven't checked out, feel free to go on the Discord. It's now live, so no
Okay,
more of
there
that.
you go.
So what's the difference between our project, right? So it all resonates in the ecosystem. Instead of a generic ABC ecosystem, we've actually adapted, you know, NFTs into a rebase ecosystem, which is completely brand new. The direct tax in PTX actually, so obviously rebase tokens are ponzonomic, right? But the actual ecosystem itself isn't, because you will have the direct people who just want to buy the NFTs. As you said, there may be only one part of the ecosystem you wanted to buy, right? The NFTs themselves have a lot of hype for them. They're spoken about daily in the chat. People are really excited for them. Now, the best thing about that is if the NFTs do generate a bunch of hype, and they do get that hype aspect of the project, right, which you see sometimes in the space, the way they upgrade them NFTs, they will have to purchase PTX. So in a way, the ecosystem is built on a self-sufficient factor without having to be too ponzonomic. Now, I'm not going to say it's not ponzonomic, because no matter how you say an auto compounding project that relies on volume to an extent is always going to be ponzonomic, right? But the way that we're working this is that there's to get to a point where there's enough external revenue factors, there's enough trading bots and enough revenue coming in, so that we go, hey, we don't actually need the volume. If you guys want to buy more, feel free to buy more. But we've got to a point where the protocol is sufficient from externally rather than internally, because the biggest problem projects face is by eating the insides out, right? Taking all the treasury or selling the tokens and causing a negative price impact. But what we're going to do is we've got these revenue systems that are going to come from the trading bots. I mean, the trading bots are live now. They're generating money for the protocol. You've got the XShares that are coming in. That's built directly into the PTX tax. So it works both ways, right? To upgrade your XShares, you need to buy PTX. But XShares make money if PTX moons or if PTX dumps, because there's a 4% tax there. If we get a massive volume day, everyone that holds an XShare is still going to make money. If XShare has a massive influx, everyone that holds PTX is going to make a bunch of money because people want to upgrade. So that's obviously not financial advice, and that's not guaranteed. But the biggest thing that makes us different is just the uniqueness of the rebase. It's not a generic rebase project. We've got weekly financial reports, being expenses, team salaries, how much the bots are making. That's all in our Discord. You can see complete transparency. Neil has every TX. If you've got any queries based on what was spent somewhere, I'm sure Neil will be able to pull that out and put your mind at ease. But even down to team salary is down there, marked down. If you actually look, you'll see the reductions. And as I said, Neil can account for that as well. If you ever go, that's too good to be true, Neil can pull out the transactions and go, hey, no, that's actually the way it works. So there's a lot of transparency factors as well. I think we're one of the first, and I think I actually someone saw us doing it and decided to do it. I'm not going to say which token or which project, but I'm there quite often as well. So I think another token saw us doing that, go, hey, that's a good idea. But hey, the person being the smaller token, right? People see your ideas and like nab. But that's why we don't release all of our cards. That's why we've got things down the line, some mysterious things that we're releasing as well, because we don't want to throw all our cards on the table and go, this is everything we're doing, please copy us, because then we'll just have faults and people go, that's a good idea, we've got more money, let's do it. So there's a lot coming. The ecosystem's not just generic, which is the best part. We've got a rebase token that's supported by an NFT revenue share system that has a gamification token that has passageways that can be integrated into gamification. So there's so much on one ecosystem that it's not just a normal token, which is great.
Okay, could you talk about what the advantage of the pre-sale was?
Yeah, so the pre-sale, you got a couple different advantages. There was no buy tax associated with it, and it was also a little bit cheaper than the live token there. So that was a little bit ago now. I believe our pre-sale was ended on the 19th of August. So it's been, 19th. So shout out to my husky. The gal just got home, so they're happy now. But yeah, that was the advantages back in the pre-sale. And I think that also kind of led to that little initial drop down because some of those people got in early and maybe expected it to moon quite a bit. and they elected that it wasn't going to, so they decided to get out there. But nevertheless, we keep building, we keep working. So that was the advantages back then, and those who are still in, there's going to be different advantages in the future. So
Okay, very cool. And someone said, no, another rebase token, but it's not a rebase token for long. Okay, that's something that they're moving away from. The NFTs, what chain are the NFTs going to be on?
So they will be on BSC as well. Ideally, we're going to make them cross-chain at some point and make everything cross-chain. But for now, day one, like I say, we are going to be on BSC, and that's where I'm going to launch them originally.
Okay. And then I did want to bring this up. Just somebody else mentioned it, but this is the same dev of Polar Nodes. Do you want to talk about, again, I don't want to make this a Polar Nodes AMA, but how does this fit into Polar Nodes, or are you stepping away from Polar Nodes, or what's kind of the deal there?
Yeah, so all the love to my Polar fam. I'm still the CM over there. I'm community manager at Polar Nodes. That was my first job in DeFi. I put out a good, juicy announcement today, so get up on in there. I'll show them. You guys can all check it out. I'm not going anywhere from them. I'm running my own thing over here on my end. I'm a community manager with Polar. Enor is the lead developer. If you guys are in there, you know that. But yeah, we help each other out. So I got him involved with the same trading bot mechanics there, and we work very well together. We literally talk every day. So don't stress. Simone, we are all good on that end and on this end.
Yes.
Hey, Neil, next AMA on Wednesday, I expect the shout out for PTX in that one as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe.
Cross shout outs. Yeah. And I want to verify. So Shib is not the dev of Polar Nodes. It's not like he has to put all this time. He's just the community manager there, which is an important position, but it's not like he's having to make all the decisions and write the code and do all the things. So he's the community manager for Polar Nodes, but this is his project. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that they're not the dev of Polar Nodes.
So just to clarify on the dev aspect, our devs are all KYC'd and doxed. One of our devs is the DApp development team. If you don't know who that is, that's DeFi Mark, pretty well known in the space, very trusted character. And another part of our developmental team for our website is a completely professional company. We don't feel like we need to, release information on that because they're just doing the design aspects. And then Solar Protocol as well, who do our maintenance and management. They're all KYC'd with Tulip DAO, and all of the tokens, all the contracts are owned solely by Nil. So there's none of that rogue dev or, the random guy that wasn't doxed, ran off with the money. It's all by paper, Nil's in charge of everything, and all of the devs are all doxed as well. So, yeah, no worries there.
Okay, that is good. That happens more often than not. So that's good to hear. I thought this was a good question. So if somebody's thinking about getting in right now, how should they think through? Would it be better to wait if you guys are going to be kind of updating some things soon, or how should somebody think through the decision of when to get in?
Yeah, so you're never going to find me telling people when or how or what to put their money in the world, and not even my own product here. But we did reduce the buy tax because our community asked us to. With the upgraded contracts, they are going to have a reduced buy tax associated with it. So this allows those who do want to get involved now, before we upgrade to everything else, they can still get involved with that increased benefit here. And that's kind of the goal here, is we want to reduce the barrier to entry for the project for anyone who wants to get involved. If you want to wait until we launch the upgrade and that's easier for you, that's perfectly fine. That could even give you some more time to research and ask us questions. But if you do get in now, you're not really missing out on anything. You still get that good advantageous buy tax reduction at just 4% here. And then we drop you a new token. You're not going to really have to interact from there. So really, whatever you prefer to do, we're more than happy to guide you through it.
Okay. And then last question, we'll close with this unless someone else asks something really, really good as we finish up. But when is the first drop? You mentioned that the APR is going to be dropping. Can you remind us of the timetable of that?
Yeah, so we went live on the 19th of August. So that puts us, next week would be the first scheduled drop. We'll probably time this just to go along with the relaunch of the token. I know we've had some internal discussions of maybe extending that first one. I don't really know how I feel about that, to be honest. It's kind of good for marketing, but it does increase some inflationary components. So maybe that'll still be a thing, but I'm not too sold on that just yet. But ideally, we're going to get this other contract launched sooner rather than later. And that'll be that first reduction. It'll still be 1.593% on that month two. So it's still pretty good. And it doesn't really put us backwards in time, which I don't know if I feel great about doing that. So ideally, sometime next week, I will launch a token and do the reduction at the same time.
Okay, and then I'll kind of close here with Ian's summation. I think this is good. Ideas, openness, experience, revenue. The only issue is it's early and they're building their base right now. So I think that's a pretty good summation of the project. A lot of cool stuff, but it is early. So again, I always tell people it's safer to get into things later. So you could wait for a few months and see how it goes, but there's much higher reward if you get in earlier. So you just have to kind of figure out, okay, where's my risk reward ratio that I'm comfortable with? And then you get in when it makes sense for you to get in. But now you know the team, you know kind of what they're building, kind of what they're aiming at. So yeah, definitely, I've loved Neil for a long time. I think he's an asset in the space. And Brand, it's nice to meet you as well.
And you, Jay.
So yes, we'll go ahead and close up there. Audience, appreciate you guys. Again, we cannot do AMAs unless people showed up to watch them. So thankful for you guys. I appreciate you guys. Please hit like on the way out. And then, yeah, Neil and Brand, thanks for coming in and talking through everything. Appreciate it. You'll have to go get a drink now. And after all this talking, you're probably dehydrated. And yeah, there you go. Red Bull. That's the way to do it. So thank you guys for hopping on. And I wish you best of luck in your project.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you for hosting us. Again, you're also a great asset to DeFi, and I love watching your videos still just to learn, because I've learned quite a bit. So shout out to you. Good to talk to your community again, and I'm sure we'll talk again at some point in the future. So appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
Take care.
Yep.
Thank
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
you.